Hey, good morning, everybody. All right, so glad last week was over. That whipsaw back and forth, but we've been getting a lot of that lately. And with this Fed meeting coming up, probably might see more of it early on, or maybe drops off ahead of it, and you know, we call it a sell the rumor, buy the news type of scenario. But we've been getting a lot of this chop, you know, this year. And last week, was kind of the same where, up, down, and it held. Thursday was that rally day at lunchtime that looked like it was going to go to the moon. And then Friday, things fell apart again. And yeah, so now where's it going to go? Let's clean that up. I can only imagine it's going to go down. That's where it's supposed to go. Anyway, it's sitting here at this pivot low. Got three red bars to the downside. So some fluidity to it. However, this bar here did take out the prior bar's high, rather than a bar that just opens in the area of the prior bar's close and continues down. You had this little blip up for good measure to kind of add fuel to the downside or supply that drove it down. And maybe Thursday similarly did that, and we had a pretty decent sized down bar there. So a few concepts come into play here. Well, the greater than 100% retracement concept, which suggests stabilization after a move. Now, this has been a choppy move on the daily chart, and somewhat on the weekly chart. So that concept, taking it out, doesn't mean take it out and immediately reverse. And so this 400 area should be a good downside target. There's a relatively large open interest in put options there, which could add some support. It might poke down below it. And so that's part of my expectation or hope for this week, is that we get that sell off, maybe down to this level, poke below it just to scare, just for a good scare, that it's going to keep going down here. And then maybe a reversal back up that sets up some counter trend rally. It would make sense coming down to the whole number and that open interest there. There is some support. It was a breakout area. Ultimately, I think coming down this 20%, I would just love it for there to be a waterfall decline, a collapse right down to there this week. Only because it would just create a huge void up above, and then we could get some bottoming process going on there for a larger rally. But we'll see how it plays out. Just historical patterns, and one in which it take out that low, maybe come down here, and then begin to start the next retracement within this multiple time frame downtrend. Daily, weekly. We'll see how it all plays out there. But the hourly is still in a downtrend, even though of Thursday it just rallied up into resistance and then back down again. So pretty bearish on all time frames, looking for lower. The futures similar. We see what they're doing pre-market here, and so far they're holding this support. We'll see for how long. There is a little bit of a void, up above there. If this was to hold and rally up, where would it go? Ideally shouldn't go too far. Based on these S&P levels and void above, could we see a bounce today? Well, of course, anything's possible, DB Puck, you know that. So, looking at the futures here, look, we do what we call factory work, right? Meaning we have a systematic analysis of what's happening based on price. So as we look at what happened on Friday, we had a waterfall type of decline. Like it started going down. And, if you look at the 5-minute chart, things held for parts of the day like it did here. Well, that's this morning. I have to scroll back to that time. But if we went back and look at spiders, what you see is that there was an initial gap up. So let's do that, since that was your question was about. And scroll back. And so this I got it on 24 hours. But what happened was on Friday was that there was an initial gap down, an attempt to go higher. And so based on Thursday's rally, which was bullish, ideally it would, if it opened up down, immediate would have rallied. And it did do that. But every big move that creates voids opens up the potential to retrace back into it, because there's no support to the left in this case. So it has to create support. So as it comes down and begins to reverse, as it did right there, you can see on the 5-minute chart, and popped up, and that failed. And that's like, what's going on here? That should have resulted in a move into the gap fill, maybe a stall, or just pushing right through it. And then a continuation move higher up to the 50 and 20 converging moving averages, or in that area. It didn't happen. And so that was like, hey, something's going on here. And all right, so maybe as it comes down to the next level, you can see the crosshairs on the 15 comes down to the next support. Okay, let's give it another try. And pivot low, slowing momentum, rally, slammed again. All right, it comes down to the next support, looking to the left. All right, let's give it another try. Well, it got even less further that time, down again. So sellers were clearly in control. And now it comes down to this support down here. And it's like every attempt fails. It's getting late in the day. And who wants to get in front of this thing? And then, it just breaks down and continues down, and it begins to accelerate down. So now we've got this somewhat of a void above, because same story. Instead of a rally up, we got a sell off down, which creates a void. And so now, can it rally back up into there? So you say, can it bounce a bit? Yeah, of course. Now we say, can it bounce a bit? Yeah, of course. Well, to where? Where's resistance? So we're seeing what happened here pre-market. If it gets above here, right, this resistance area pre-market, it opens up the door to this void above. Right? What you can see is, the last Friday's prior decline, it tried to stop and accelerated. So yeah, it could go up, but can it get through the pre-market resistance? And even if it goes up, okay, right, factory worked 420 area, middle of that bar. Where does that put that as far as resistance? Well, at that pivot high there, what's to the left? And so the upside, while possible, based on what we're looking at, should be limited. And who wants to get ahead of this aggressively long in front of the Fed? Uncertainty, and there's lots of earnings still coming out. So it could bounce a bit, but the odds are, because multiple time frame downtrend, it should go down. And so 400 area, big open interest of puts there in SPY. And then we see what happens. But sure, it could bounce up a bit, and then eventually it should go lower. So SPX, right? Fear is resumed into the markets. We've got, put call ratio, a lot more put buyers. It's getting to an extreme. Breadth is got some room to go down. So, here we have a scenario where, yeah, go down there. These get to an extreme, and it should set up a counter trend bounce once we get some kind of a pattern down there. So SPX today, damn it, they clear these, right? Open. Hold on. Last I was looking was down here at 39. Over here. I have to add more strikes down there on Interactive Brokers. Give me a second. Yeah. 39.60. Right. There's enough premium at this time. If the market sells off, it'll go up 70 by 80 right now. So it's below 4,000, right? Once it breaks this low, there's nothing there, right? And this 4,000 level is just a whole number. And SPY's got those big puts, so it could push below it. It probably makes sense to wait a little while and just see if it sells off here at the open, that those premiums increase. But 39.60, something below 4,000, I think would be okay. So juice below 4,000 is what McGraw's telling me. Really? Is that what it says? IB doesn't have that. 39.60, 70 by 240. Says got 70 by 80. And they cleared it on TC 2000. If that's what you're saying, that's no good. IB's got 125 by 140 at 39.90. Am I looking at the right thing? 0 days. Yeah. And I'll have to ask Dan to double check, but I scroll this over here. No, I can't scroll it over there. All right. So below 4,000, you got to go below 4,000 today, right, wherever your quotes are showing. It would have to travel a decent amount to get down there, and it should bounce. Even if it pushes through it a little bit, it'll bounce over that. So NQs, all right, still bearish pattern. Why they're rarely that wide, McGraw. Must be a lot of uncertainty in the market makers that if they're posting it that wide at this time. I never remember seeing it so wide. So just holding here for the moment, but a bearish pattern poked up into here and back down, continuation pattern. Support way down here. Qs 300 should be a good level to hold. Things continue to move lower. The Russell, I saw there was a big open interest at 180. So we just look at where the largest open interest is, and it's not always expiration today, which it wasn't. It was going out to the end of the month, but that's a good spot to be aware of in the Russell. Pretty much nothing's moving here. He's just kind of waiting. Things popped up. So it's just getting these gyrations of, you got a climactic move and you get a retest. Buyers are there at the pivot. It springs back up. Sellers will be up around here. So just, that's the good thing about trading these futures contracts. I mean, wow. Things could be arbitraged or whatever. I mean, there's no fundamentals here. It's just technicals. Look to the left, pivots, highs, lows, support, resistance, trends. Bitcoin up a little bit, no big deal. Crude oil, no big deal. Everything's kind of just on hold here. Silver heading lower, back down to the bottom of the range. That was a disappointment, but that wasn't a good sign up there. Gold looks lower. This thing's falling apart here. Transports, there was a lot of running in place last week and Friday. Buyers just gave it up. And Yeah, well, they're supposed to go up during inflation, Jake, the old story. And, Bitcoin didn't go up much. And I don't know, this Ukraine thing seems to be, I'm not saying I don't want to use the word farce, but I don't know, just a lot of jawboning and people's lives being disrupted. And seems like a lot of bullshit to me. I don't know, just political wise, it's terrible. But, VIX, set your alert up there, right up near resistance and so on. So, well, yours, Dan, well, one of the scenarios, interest rates, keep an eye on them. We talked over the weekend about, uh, these potentially, um, well, this is already there, but this pushing up a bit higher, maybe that's the motivation, interest rates, is pushing these that have been going high, spike up a bit and get the market to go off, and the Fed comes out and yada, yada, yada. And, things line up for a rally.
Good morning. Yep, that's the scenario I am hoping for also, obviously. Some markets were green when I first woke up, then they sold off. Now we're bouncing here a little bit. That will be chilling here to open. We don't have that much inventory. So I'll be managing everything as always. Let's go. I see oil down a bit. We actually do have a 115 put spread on XOP, but some of these look like they're either going to retest or have a failed buy setup and make lower lows. But let's go over here, see what we have. ATVI, Buffett, I guess, saying at his annual meeting, he was buying a little bit. Lost my pre-market. There. It's up a buck and change, but, well, there's no daily pattern. But pre-market, this might turn into a day trade. Munger was also trashing Hood. I didn't hear the details. I just saw it on the CNBC that he was trashing them, and Buffett calling active trading a gambling parlor. Now, I 1000% disagree with that. If talking about the concept of direct access trading, I think was the most phenomenal change in the late 90s. Direct access, get rid of the middleman, market maker, spreads got better, low commission costs. You kidding me? But there was a lot of that gambling mentality, of course, with the Robinhood folks, particularly with the government throwing all that money at them. Yeah, John, definitely. Yeah, I was out Friday afternoon, but yeah, unfortunately, the spiders IWM stopped. And I was saying that, I much rather wanted a fluid move down to get the greater than 100% concept, whereas this was a 180 reversal breakdown. I mean, I was bullish on Thursday. I don't doubt it. It's just for a pop, not for long term. And it was short lived. A recent IPO here, something's up with that. We'll keep an eye on it. I gelled 1880. That's a bearish gap down. This shows it up $4. I don't see any prints, but there's no pattern there. But see, even $4 on this thing is absolutely nothing. I would want it to be at least 220 to have that as a viable gap bottoming pattern. Earnings here, nothing going on. Whack. I'd say that these were the type of continuation patterns we've been talking about. So that this was a breakout failure, closed under a prior low, 3 bearish inside days, breakdown, price void. That was a continuation short. Still looks lower, like to the 50. My TRI, big nothing. I don't like the way that trades, but that's gapping down. That looks lower. 30-minute low would be the entry. Lawrence, isn't that the guy doubled down on Baba? I have no idea. Smart. Yeah, that's a breakdown. It's a continuation breakdown, exactly what I just was talking about on the WEC. But I like this one actually better, Loic, because it's in a downtrend. At the declining 2050, you got a continuation bar and you got a price void. So that looks fantastic. I'm going to get rid of Varu here. I can't tell where it's gapping, but I like it. Here's Varu. I just saw him popping pre-market. We'll come back to you. GPN gapping down, just trading range. Gapping down 1750. I like the bear sandwich on the weekly. We'll come back to that. AMG looks lower. It's a closing breakdown. I can't tell where it's gapping, but 30-minute low. AKTS, bearish downtrend. PK. It's sloppy, but greater than 100% retracement and going sideways. But this has to take out Thursday's high, and then I like it long. Target 21. Oscar November, 30-minute high, McGraw, possible put spread. It's a sloppy W bottom, new low plus. 30-minute high on that's not bad. Put that in a window actually. MCO gapping down. Wow, 287. That's a wow. That's under the weekly. That's a whackage. L, there's another continuation type of thing that we just talked about. I'll be back in 1 second.
Until Dan gets back, follow on YouTube IOT. That's pretty thinly traded stock. So, well, what's here today? No, not really. Yeah, it's broken down. IDOT, some Samsara Inc. software infrastructure company. Yesterday was a topping tail type bar that broke out of the top of the range and back down. That's pretty weak. Looks lower, sure. I mean, things pretty much look lower everywhere.
All right. I'm back here. That's the delivery. Oh, look at SMAR. What's going on there? Yeah, so L looks lower. I think I was going to put that in the letter, but I think it had earnings this week. All right, yeah, SMART looks fantastic. That was a great setup, Loic.
And McGraw, just double checking your quotes. The guy's got 3960 now, 75, 70 by 80. Is that what you see? $65 by 75 now.
Hey, Robert. All right.